It's on my visiting card, sure enough, and it's all pink satin paper, that any gentleman that places may behold the interesting words. Sir Patrick O'Granison, Baronet, 39, Southampton Road, Russell Square, parish of Bloomsbury. And should you be wanting to discover who is the pink of politeness quite, and the later of the hot ton of the whole city of London, why, it's just meself. And fate that same is no wonder at all, so be pleased to stop curling your nose. For every inch of the 6 weeks I've been a gentleman, and left off wide the bog throwing to take up with me there, Cinny. It's Sir Patrick that's been living like a holy emperor and getting the indication in the graces. Oh, and would not it be a blessed thing for your spirits if you could lay down your 2 peepers just upon Sir Patrick O'Granison, Baronet, when he is already dressed up for the opera, or stipping in the brisky for the drive into the Hyde Park? What is the elegant big figure that I have, for the reason of which all the ladies fall in love with me? Is not it my own sweet self now that Monsieur the 6 ladies that I'll make sure the 6 foot and the 3 inches more than that in me stockings, and that I am exceedingly well proportioned all over to match? It is not really more than 3 foot and a bit that there is, anyhow, of the old foreigner Frenchman that lives just over the way and is all ogling and a goggling the whole day. And bad luck to him, and the pretty witty Mistress Treacle, that's my own next door neighbor. God bless her. And a most particular friend and acquaintance. You perceive that the little spalpeen is summit up down on the mouth, and wears his left hand in a sling. And it's for that same thing, by your leave, that I'm going to give you the full good reason. The truth of the whole matter is just simple enough. For the very first day I come from Connaught, and showed my sweet little self in the street to the widdy, who was looking through the windy. It was good case altogether with the heart of the purty Mistress Treacle. I perceive that you see all at once, and no mistake, and that's God's truth. First of all, it was up with the windy in a jiffy, and then she threw open her 2 papers into the utmost, and then it was a little gold spyglass that you clasped tight to one of them. And devil me burn me if it did not speak to me as plain as the paper could speak. And says it through the spyglass, "Oh, the tip of the morning to you, Sir Patrick O'Granison, Baronet, Malverine, and it's a neat gentleman that ye are, sure enough, and it's meself and me fortune, just that'll be at your service, dear, any time of day at all for the asking. And it's not meself you would have had to bait for the politeness." So I made her a bow, and would have broken your heart altogether to behold, and then I put off me hat in a flourish, and then I winked at her hard with both eyes, as much to say, "True for you, you're a sweet little creature, Miss Treacle, me darling, and I wish I may be drowning in the dead in the bog, if it's not myself, Sir Patrick O'Granison, Baronet, that I'll make a whole bushel of love to your ladyship, in the twinkling of your eye, the Londonderry purty. And it was the next morning, sure, just as I was making up my mind whether it would be the polite thing to send a bit of the writing to the Widdy by way of a love letter, when up come the delivery servant with the elegant card. And he told me that the name on it, for I never could read the copper plate printing on the account of being left-handed, was all but Monsieur the Count of Goose, Lucchese, Maitre d', and the whole devilish lingo was Spalpenny long name with a little old French foreigner Frenchman as lived over the way. And just with that come the little villain himself, and then he made me a broth of a bow, and then he said to me, only taking liberty of doing me the honor of giving me a call, and then he went to over the Palaver Greatway, and then the devil that bit did comprehend what he will be after the tilling me at all, excepting and saving that he said, "Pulley wool, woolly wool," he told me, among a bushel of lies, bad luck to him, that he was mad for the love of my witty Mistress Tracle, and that my witty Mrs. Tracle had a punching for him. Oh. At the hearing of this, you may swear, though, I was as mad as a grasshopper, and you remember that I was Sir Patrick O'Grandison Baronet, and that it was not altogether genteel to let the anger get the upper hand of the politeness. So I made a light of the matter and kept dark and got quite sociable with the little chap, and after a while what would he do but to ask me to go with him to the Widdy's, at saying he would give me the fashionable introduction to her ladyship. "Is it there you are?" said I to myself. "It is true for you, Patrick, that you're the fortunatest fortuitous mortal in all life, and we'll soon see now whether it's your sweet self or it's whether it's little Monsieur Maitre d' that Mistress Tracle has had her ears in love with." With that, we went off to the Widdy's next door, and you may say, well, it was an elegant place, so it was. It was a carpet on the floor, all over the floor, and it was in one corner there was a 40-penny and a Jew's harp and a devil knows what else, and in another corner was a Sophie, the beautifulest thing in all nature. And sitting on the Sophie, sure enough, there was a sweet little angel, Mistress Tracle. "The tip of the morning to you," says I, "Mrs. Tracle." And then I made such elegant obeisance that it would altogether bewilder the brain of you. "Woolly wool, pulley wool, plump in the mud," says the little foreigner Frenchman. And then, "Sure, Mrs. Tracle," says he, that he did. "Isn't this gentleman here just the Reverend Sir Patrick O'Grandison Baronet? And isn't he altogether the entirely most particular friend and acquaintance that I have in the whole world?" And with that, the Widdy, she gets up from the sofa and makes the sweetest curtsy nor ever was seen, and then sits down like an angel, and then, by the powers, it was that little spalpeen Monsieur Maitre d' that plumped himself right down on the right side of her. Oh, I expected the two eyes of me would have come out of my head on the spot, I was so desperate mad. However, "Bait who?" says I, after a while. "Is it there you are, Monsieur Maitre d'?" And so down I plumps on the left side of her ladyship, to be even with the villain. Botheration, it would have done your heart good to perceive the elegant double wink that I gave her just then, right in the face with both eyes. But the little old Frenchman, he never began to suspect me at all, and desperate hard it was he made love to her ladyship. Woolly wool. says he. Pullywoo, says he. Plump in the mud, says he. That's all to no use, Monsieur Frog, Mon Balverine, says I. Thinks I. And talks as hard as fast as I could all the while. And through it all was myself just that diverted her ladyship completely and entirely, and by reason of the elegant conversation that I kept up with her all about the dear bog of the Connaught. And by she gave me such a sweet smile, and from one end of her mouth to the other, that it made me just as bold as a pig, and I just took hold of her, the end of her little finger in the most delicatest manner in nature, looking at her all the while out of the whites of my eyes. And then only perceived the cuteness of her sweet angel, for no sooner did she observe that I was after the squeezing of her flipper, that she did up with it in a jiffy and put it behind her back, just as much as to say, "Now then, Sir Patrick O'Grandison, there's a better chance for thee, Malverine, for it's not altogether the genteel thing to be after the squeezing of my flipper right full in the sight of that little foreigner Frenchman, Monsieur Maitre de Dawn." With that, I gave her a big wink just to say, "Let Sir Patrick alone for the likes of them little tricks." And then I went easy to work, and yet I died with the diversion to behold how cleverly I slipped my right arm between the back of her Sophie and the back of her ladyship. There, sure enough, I found a sweet little flipper all awaiting to say, "The tip of the morning to you, Sir Patrick O'Grandison, Baronet." And was not myself sure that I just give this lace little bit of a squeeze in the world all the way of a commencement, and not too rough to be with her ladyship? And botheration, it was not the gentlest and delicatest little squeezes I got in return. Blood and thunder, Sir Patrick O'Grandison, Malverine, thinks I to myself. Fate is just the mother's son of you, and nobody else at all. And this is just the handsomest and fortuitous young bog trotter that ever come out of Connaught. And with that, I give the flipper a big squeeze, and a big squeeze it was by the powers that her ladyship give back to me. But it would have split the seven sides of you with the laughing to behold, just then and all at once, the conceited behavior of Monsieur Balverine, Monsieur Maitre de Dawn's, likes of such a jabbering and smirking and a parley woman as he began with her ladyship never was known before upon earth. And devil may burn me, was it not my own 32 papers that couched in tipping her the wink out of the one eye? Oh, God. And was it not myself that I was mad as a Kilkenny cat as should be like to be told who it was? Let me inform you, Monsieur Maitre de Dawn, said I, as polite as ever ye see, that it was not the gentlest at all, and not for the likes of you anyhow, to be after the ogling and a goggling of her ladyship in the fashion. That fashion. And just with that, just such as another squeeze as it was as I give her a flipper, all as much as to say, "Is it not Sir Patrick now, my jewel, that'll be able to the protecting of you, my darling?" And then there comes another squeeze back, all by way of an answer. "True for you, Sir Patrick, as said as plain as ever as squeeze and said in the world. True for you, Sir Patrick Malverine, and as proper Nate gentleman you are. That's the truth." And with that she opened her two beautiful papers, and I believe they would have come out of her head altogether and entirely, and she looked as mad as a cat at Malverine Frog. Monsieur Frog. And then, as smiling as all out of the doors at myself. "Then," says the villain, "oh, and a woolly-woo, and pulley-woo," and then, with that, he just shoved up his two shoulders till the devil, the bit of his head was to be discovered. And then he let down the two corners of his pretty trap, and then, not a hapworth more of the satisfaction could I get out of this Balverine. "Believe me, my jewel," said Sir Patrick, "that was unreasonable and mad thin, and more by token than the Frenchman kept his winking at the witty, and the witty kept a wit of this squeezing my flipper as much as say, at him again, Sir Patrick Grandison Malverine. And so I just ripped out with the big oath, and I says, ye speak little spalpeen frog of a bog-throtting son of a bloody noob. And just then, what do you think it was that her ladyship did?